How has your identity changed since your injury, and do you feel like a different person, or is it more complex than that? I feel like, yes, my identity has changed. I think when I was younger, I think I always had a very clear path of what I wanted to do. So I think that through default, through becoming disabled and not being able to do those things in the same way, my identity or my identifying factors did change somewhat. But I also think that as you grow older, your identity changes anyway. So something that I put down to my disability many years ago, I realised is just life, and it's just growing up. And you grow and change as you grow. Have you developed hobbies or interests that you wouldn't have thought you would have liked before your injury? Yes, gardening. I've got quite into gardening, which is rather problematic with one functioning arm, but I like gardening. And I got into disability aerial circus performing as well, and I would never have got into that if it hadn't have been for an amazing theatre company that I worked with. So they're my two very bizarre things. Yeah. Can you actually remember using your other arm properly anymore? Like the memory of that feeling? No. It's been 20 years. I can feel my arm and I can move it a little bit. I can't use it functionally, really. And so no, I don't remember the feeling of using it as it was. No, I wish I did. What do you wish someone had told you when you first had your brain injury? That's a really great question, and a really hard question. A really sad question, actually. I wish someone had told me that it's going to be okay, and that you're not always going to be sad, and it's not always going to hurt, and there's going to be some glorious things that come out of it, and that you grow as a person, and that life is going to change no matter what. So just stay strong, and it's going to be all right. Do you have issues with people treating you differently once they know you have an injury? Yes, sometimes people do treat me differently once they realise I have an injury or a disability. It depends really on where. Sometimes people might be quite ignorant to it, and sometimes they might have a negative response, and maybe they'll be like, oh, that's why you're like this, or that's why you're like that. But generally, most people are just a bit more patient and a bit nicer. And curious, and sometimes people just want to learn and ask you questions, and I find that always lovely, because if you don't know, you can't comment on it, if you know what I mean. But I like it when people ask questions, and then we can have a discussion about it. So and do you have issues with people relating to and understanding your life now? No, I don't think so. I think that because I've discovered who I am, and I'm kind of happy with that, I think that people just accept me for who I am, and that's everything about me, my physicality, my emotional state, and everything. Yeah. Do you ever have phantom feelings in your arm? No, I don't have phantom feelings in my arm, because I can feel my arm and I can move it a little bit. But sometimes when I'm trying to do like mirror therapy, and I'm like using this hand on a mirror and trying to move it to imagine the other hand moving, I can feel like the tendons are moving on the top of my hand, even though they're not. So they're kind of, or maybe they are, maybe they're just jerking on the inside, but although they're not visibly moving, I feel like they're moving. How does your brain injury affect your everyday life, and has it made positive changes as well as negative ones? In the everyday, it's affected my life because I've got a horrific memory. So that is definitely a problem. It affects the way that I structure everything. So everything has very specific routines and formats to help me to remember things. I kind of have like Mondays for this day, Tuesday for this day. So I know how my weeks are structured generally, and that really helps me to remember what I'm doing. So my life has changed in that way. During this pandemic specifically, I'm going to mention that now, I feel like those routines that I had to help me in my everyday life aren't necessarily working now, because so much of everyday life is different, that I have no linchpins to hold on to break up the weeks. Everything's the same, so it's become a lot harder to do it. And has it made positive changes in those things? Yeah, I think it has. My brain injury has made positive changes, because it's allowed me to know when I'm tired, know when I'm struggling, know when I need help, and to accept that. That took me a very, very, very long time to understand. But accepting help, accepting that you're tired, and accepting that you can't do everything all the time was a massive learning curve for me. So that is different since I've had a brain injury. In the early days, could you feel physical pain in your brain? It's a long time ago for me, 20 years, so I don't think so. I think when I had my injury, apparently I said I had a very bad headache, so I must have had it then, but I don't recall that because I was kind of unconscious a bit. After that, I think I get a lot of fuzzes, a lot of brain fuzzes, a lot of discombobulation, a lot of dizziness, and a lot of spells like that. But actual pain in my head, other than a headache, I don't seem to get them, no. I do get a pain behind my eyes sometimes though, but I think that's just my sensitivity to eyes. Has having a brain injury connected you even more to the important people in your life? Yes, I think it has. Having first had my injury, a lot of people couldn't handle it. A lot of my friends, I was 18, so a lot of my friends were young as well. We were 17, 18, couldn't deal with the emotional stuff that came with it. They couldn't deal with my stress, my emotion. I was a very, very bad place when it first happened to me. I was desperate for someone to help me and help me understand myself and my life and what was going on in my life, and my friends couldn't help me. And so a lot of people just ran away from it. They found it too difficult and they couldn't comprehend it. So it definitely changed a lot of my relationships in that way, and those people just pitted out and then I never saw them again. But that happens as you grow anyway. You move on, you form your friends, you find your people, don't you, that are your people, no matter what. And I still have some wonderful friends that stayed with me from then, and we've just formed great friendships and bonds. And I think it can, I don't know, sometimes it can be a bit negative in that respect, but I feel like actually you find out who your real friends are, and you find out what really matters to you, and the people that are going to stand by you, and they're the people you want in your life. So that's what I think. How do you overcome moments of frustration and anger caused by the injury? I can't remember. How do I overcome? I don't think I do necessarily always overcome them. I think the only thing you can do is try and learn from them. So as you grow and you find ways of doing things and you deal with situations, you build up a repertoire, if you like, of skills of learning how to deal with those things in certain situations, maybe certain feelings and emotions, and you just build an arsenal of skills to help you. But I don't think there is a one glove fits all for everybody, because everybody's life is different and everyone reacts to things differently. So again, that's just a growing thing that you have to learn for yourself. I'm sorry. Next question is, when you talk about brain injury to people who aren't working in the area, do you see a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings? And can you tell us about those common experiences? So I feel like in the general wider public there is sometimes a misconception between different types of disabilities. Sometimes brain injury, depending on the effects it might have on the body and the mind, can lead some people to think that you have either a learning disability or a mental health condition. So they're the biggest misconceptions, I think, that I have encountered. People assume that I'm stupid sometimes. So they're common misconceptions, I think, that you can't think for yourself, or you can't do something for yourself just because a certain part of your body doesn't work. But it doesn't mean you can't do it, it just means that you do it in a very different way to everybody else. And so I think that is, I think people just assume I can't do things, like generally, like how do you tie up your hair, or how do you, I don't know. It's the simplest things in life that I think people, I can't think of anything specific right now, which is really annoying. I'm trying to think of a common misconception. A common misconception. Yeah, I think it's just that I can't think of one.